As Chantier loomed closer to Minmus, Astaris' satellites got into better positions to relay information from their Minmus lander to the Apel. Positioning these satellites in a higher orbit than their rivals, this allowed them to have better coverage for less cost, as less satellites would be required, as well as less atmospheric interference, which would allow the radio signals to travel farther. One of these satellites carried an experimental mapping system which could be used by the Astaris government for better geo-tracking. Besides the minor non-structural damage done by the expended boosters, the booster stage was still able to carry out its mission to put more satellites in orbit. Another new Astaris satellite was headed for orbit. However, Kerbin's orbit was not the main target for these sats, as the Mun would provide a much better vantage point for radio signals to relay information out into the Kerbal system. Two out of three of the Munner satellites were able to get into orbit, as the third, which was also the transfer stage, didn't have enough delta V to circularize its orbit, and thus would spend the rest of its life drifting around the Sun, never to be seen again. Thankfully, this was just a satellite, and not a Kerbal. However, that wasn't always going to be a guarantee in the future. Shinatier realized they need a more powerful satellite to get a constant communication from the SRTG to Minmus. In this realization, they created the first FanSat, which would extend a wide fan of weak satellites in order to create a larger signal to transmit and receive data from Minmus. This FanSat was only a stopgap solution, however, as Shinatier knew they needed to move on to bigger and more powerful radios in the future. With Shinatier's hopper being a solid 2 days ahead of Astaris' CXR-10 lander, Jeb and Bob knew they had essentially no rush. The first bit of science in space near Minmus showed very promising results, in being extremely wealthy amounts of science that could feed R&D with research for weeks on end. After choosing a small ridgeline overlooking a flats biome, Jeb and Bob descended, hoping for a quick and easy landing. Landing with only 3 meters a second left of Delta V, Jeb worked on stabilizing the craft, while Bob started to get the scientific equipment all in order to begin testing. This landing is vital to the longevity of the SRTG, and as it will give boatloads of science, as well as valuable information about long-term zero-G crew habitation scenarios. Just like in space, the science on the ground came in very generous amounts, allowing for tons to be collected.
Alright, I've gotten out. There's like no gravity here. You can almost use the RCS pack to get into orbit. Oh my lord, one jump and I'm just about in orbit. Oh, I'm not gonna do that again. Oh. Small steps, small steps, small steps. It's just dirt. Alright, I've done my experiments. Come out here, Bob.
Alright, I've got the... Oh, crap, it's starting to fall.
Get back in and decouple it quickly.
I'm trying.
And decouple... Oh god, Bob, what's happening? Bob, what's happening? Bob.